Today in Vlogcast Podcast, we dive into the intricate world of situationships. As prevalent as they are in our generation, one question still lingers. How long is too long? And how do you navigate something so ambiguous? Dealing with the aftermath of a relationship can be challenging. So how do you cope with heartbreak, and what actionable steps can you take to mend a broken heart? And finally, how can you be sure your feelings are genuine and not inadvertently leading others on? All of that and more coming up.
Garbage Vlogcast.
Relationships suck, at least when it doesn't go well. I think it's already a given that your first few ones are almost guaranteed not to work. But hey, that's why we're here, right? To navigate through this mess, to learn from our mistakes, and maybe share a laugh or two. So whether you're stuck in the infamous talking stage or just simply trying to glue the pieces of your heart back together, this episode is for you. Before diving into the nitty-gritty, make sure you're subscribed to Vlogcast Podcast and any of your favorite streaming platforms. We have a ton of content prepared for this season, and we wouldn't want you to miss a beat. Let's start kicking things off by getting a clear understanding on what it means to be in a relationship. Because you have to remember, the definition of a relationship now isn't as straightforward as it used to be.
Are you two a couple?
Figuring
That's a good
it out?
question.
Okay,
Yeah.
good luck. Are you two a couple?
Tough question.
It's a tough question. So I asked my friends on what they think a relationship is.
For me, it's quite broad. I've encountered like a lot of levels of relationships.
The bond between two people or a group of people.
The most ideal part is a male, maybe female, maybe male, maybe female. I don't know. You do you, I guess.
How do I define relationships? I think there are many types of relationships. It could be platonic or romantic.
So let's say there's a friendship. So it's when two or more individuals are just friends. Then there's a romantic relationship where there's intimacy between two people. It doesn't really mean sex or anything.
Wait, can I start over?
I mean, like, it's a label. Like, I'm not sure how to describe it, but like, for example, there's a guy that I don't know. What's my relationship with him? A stranger.
How society defines it as well. Like you go into like plans that you would commit to in the future with your partner.
What's my relationship with my father? He's my father, That's a relationship. It's a label.
Partners, ideally two partners respecting each other and hopefully getting married and contributing to society and stuff like that. But basically right now, a relationship is just let's each other.
Ultimately, what they have in common is the interactions between human beings, regardless of their intentions or motivations with each other. It is considered a relationship.
And if we make a fight, you move on with life, then each other again, then move on again.
Relationships are actually proven to be of help because according to a study sampling around 1,600 college students, individuals in committed relationships experienced fewer mental health problems. They were also found to be less likely to be overweight or obese. Relationships can also have even better benefits, like less stress. There's a ton of science behind this, but the main idea is that hormones associated with pleasure and stability interact with the dopamine reward system in the brain, creating positive feelings to events like falling in love. Ultimately, it results in a longer life. Studies indicate a definite correlation between robust social connections and extended lifespan. The American Journal of Epidemiology examined the relationships of approximately 5,000 individuals, ranging from 30 to 69 years old. The findings revealed that individuals in content and solid marriages tended to have a longer life expectancy compared to their unmarried counterparts. Now, let's move on to the ambiguous landscape of situationships, where the lines between romance and undefined connections blur, and makes us wonder, what exactly is a situationship?
One of the most bullshit thing the Americans have ever created.
I think it's a way for people to do stuff with each other without having the commitment of being chained to a relationship.
sort of a mutual understanding, but you don't want to confirm it. Kind of like that, you know?
And based from my experience, I think it's like a similar thing to a rebound. Because like in that certain situationship, you're looking for comfort from your past mistake or your past scar.
Basically, it's when you are in a relationship that doesn't have a label.
Or you can take the Urban Dictionary definition, which is when one or two motherfuckers take part in a relationship, but out of fear of making things serious or messy, do not label it, leading to said relationship ironically becoming more serious and messier.
Do you think there's a difference between mutual understandings and situationships?
Yeah, cause like mutual understanding, you both understand that, you know, I have feelings for you, and you know, we could give it a chance, but like let's not label it for now. Like let's hang out.
One thing I have noticed while researching this was the word situationship only came into use in the early 2010s. Like, I kid you not, if you look at Ngram Viewer, you can see that, well, there's a huge spike at the very end. Look at Google Trends, and you can see a similar spike.
Because if it's a situationship and you end up doing it physically, you end up doing other things, but it is not developing, then I believe it's just a toxic relationship or maybe a friends with benefits type of deal.
Now, it's important to note that situationships aren't exactly the same as friends with benefits. You see, situationships are often described as hookups with an emotional benefit. With friends with benefits, you don't exactly get that emotional connection, it's more of the physical intimacy. So, there you have it.
Have you ever been in any of them?
In a relationship, yes.
I've been presented an offer.
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah, but I have been confessed to. And I have been, I'm popular.
I've experienced a situationship, and it lasted for 6 years. The most romantic statement I've ever said in my life. And you didn't invite me? So I stalked her Twitter. She was emotionally invested in me. You know, just cut that shit out. I trauma dumped that!
It literally went from like situationships and relationships to the story of the story.
Situationships are becoming more and more a label nowadays, wherein it really shouldn't. The thing is, many people choose to do this either by lack of clarity, or maybe for convenience, or maybe a fear of commitment. These things could last weeks, months, or even years. If you've been in one for ages without even knowing it, well, I guess that's a bit iffy. But in the first place, how would you know if you're in a situationship? Your relationship won't feel like it's moving forward, and you might be reluctant to express your actual feelings to that person. If you haven't had that defined a relationship talk, that is also a pretty clear sign that you're in one. Another thing is if you are doing coupley stuff, but you label it as casual, there are many more signs that you should look out for, which I will be putting in the references down below. But here's the kicker. All of this uncertainty just ends up increasing your chances of getting heartbroken.
Yo, what's popping? My name is Jean. What can I say? So, Keith's girlfriend, Raf's bestie, senior high, he suddenly went up to me and he never left me ever since, so.
Did not know about that.
All right, okay, even I didn't know about that. I'm surprised.
I'm Keith, Jean's boyfriend, and also Raf's bestie as well. I've met Raf in high school. First time we actually talked was the safari trip, because we were like, oh, you're from UI, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it's kind of started going off from that.
Jean and Keith were formerly my senior high school classmates, and we still keep up to this day. They are one of the few people who personally witnessed me go through an emotionally turbulent period of my life. We have all been through heartbreak at different times and in different ways, and we have basically become each other's support systems, hence our group name.
We were once like a half part of a bigger friend group, which is a group of 6. But all of us got heartbroken by those other 3, so we formed a little group by ourselves, the Heartbroken Kids, aka the Sad Kids.
I guess we were a group. Each of us were connected with one of those 3. It was sort of at first perfect, but not really. This group was sadly created because we were sad. That's why we call it the Sad Kids. It was built from sadness and jealousy. That's how it all started.
Jean had gotten into an eye-opening relationship that lasted almost a year. One thing I could say though, it definitely wasn't healthy.
That was an interesting relationship to say the least. After the infatuation was gone, it was pretty much about to go down. But the thing is, I stayed with that person for almost a year, so you can tell it was a lot of dissatisfaction, but a lot of trying to work it out. That's why, hence, the long relationship. But yeah.
How did you cope with, whatever that situation was?
It was like a relationship where it was like we're gonna go through it until the end, which is pretty stupid. I kept telling myself that it was gonna be okay, or like the main thing that I told myself was you kept working on it, because if you can't solve this problem, how are you gonna live together? But those problems became every day. But after the relationship, it was more so you guys actually. Being sad together, all 3 of us at the same time, helped a lot.
Jean was not the only one who had gotten into romantic troubles. Sometimes you don't even need to love in order to feel hurt in the same way.
I never knew what people meant by I didn't know what I was doing. How could you have not known what you were doing though? Right? It doesn't really make sense. You're always conscious. But at that whole relationship, I was in autopilot. I wasn't really doing anything. It was a cycle as well. I wouldn't say it's heartbroken, more so it's something that just really hurt. I don't think I was actually attached on that level. It wasn't love, definitely not.
However, that wasn't the only story that Keith had to share.
What I would say broke my heart though, but I wasn't in love, It wasn't love at all. It just really broke my heart was the next one after that. It wasn't exactly a relationship, but I wasn't looking for anything yet. I was just there to test the waters. Although I do think I came off a little strong, but I had no ill intentions. I tried to be as genuine as I can. It was very one-sided. I was almost clueless the whole time because I didn't know what to do. I was like, I want something to work, but nothing is actually happening because the other person isn't really doing anything. It's like I have to do everything. It didn't feel good to keep investing your time, your effort, and someone, and they don't do anything about it. And there are points of that whole thing where it gave me hope. This might actually work. And then a week after, it's like, oh, it's like that. And it was like, it brings you up here, brings you back down again. How they communicate to me was very, very limited, but their actions were different. So I'm like, what am I supposed to believe? They say actions speak louder than words, but I'm still confused though. I got rejected, which I pretty much expected, I started going by this saying, the sooner you accept it, the better. And I apply that to many, many things. Accept it already. I already try to accept something before it even happens.
So the stages of grief usually go like this: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally, acceptance, which is usually the toughest one. Keith is all about fast-tracking all the way to the acceptance stage, but for me, it was a bit of a struggle. Here's why. My heartbreak journey didn't kick off with a breakup. Ironically, it was what happened afterwards that really got me. There was this one person who was actually a solid friend at the time, and we had a brief situationship. The reason why it didn't work was that she identified as an aromantic later on, which means that she couldn't feel any romantic attraction or feelings to anyone. And because those were her feelings, I just accepted it. Fast forward a few months later, I've moved to the Philippines, and back home, the homeschool organization throws a little gala, or you can call it a prom. And what do I hear? She confesses to someone else.
Raph got, like, let's say bamboozled. And that bamboozling.
Bro got scammed.
Oh, technically he did. Technically,
Now that I think about it, he was scammed.
Let me be clear. I was not heartbroken because she confessed to someone else. That is well within her rights. What hit me was feeling like I was misled. And I mean, emotions change. I get that. But something as big as orientation, you'd usually expect some stability over time, right? Well, now I've wrapped my head around it. The heartbreak was more about betrayal. Back then, it didn't make any sense to me. And as I tried to figure it out, the next few months for me went pretty dark.
Yeah, you were pulling a me, but not as bad as I did. At one point, I went silent for like 2 weeks. Was that? Like, I didn't respond to any of my social media accounts, anything. I wasn't tapping any of it.
He would do this very funny thing where he would go completely silent. Sometimes you can tell that he's sad, but he's trying not to be for some reason. So he's just like, okay. He's like, but Rav, we know.
I didn't like seeing that. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, no, he's doing a me. That's not a good sign. Because even I know I was like really, really depressed at the time. And when I saw Raf actually like showing the same signs that I do, is like it was very concerning. I can tell that you were hung up because of what happened to you rather than her. Rather than actually her. It's more so what she did and what happened to you.
During that time, I just assumed that people could easily shift orientations just like that. So I didn't blame her. But as soon as I talked to others outside of the situation, they made me see that it was sort of messed up. It took a couple of months for me to really wrap my head around it.
From my own words, she did you dirty. Really dirty. I'm gonna bring this up again. She said this and did that. You know what I mean. She said this and did that. It was very contradictory to what she told you. You would very well be confused and you would feel betrayed, right? Because like this is what you told me and I trusted you. But this is what you're doing. You're doing something else. That does I can understand. That's happened to me and that does hurt a lot,
Back then, all three of us were still in the main group of 6. And that included her. So not only did I have to deal with my own emotions, but there was also the concern about how it would affect the group's dynamic. With everyone now having issues with the other half of the group, things started to be a little rocky.
We also had to think about how it would affect the group. Would we tell this person? Would we tell this person? Are we gonna get this person involved? We're all gonna talk about this person. We're gonna talk to this person, and like we were literally HR, conflict resolution, bro. Because let's be honest, those other 3 did not do shit to fix anything. Let's be honest, they did not. They didn't do jack shit. Because even though we did interact more in our trio, we still tried to include them. Even though we had personal problems with each of them, we still tried to make it work.
We have insensitive neighbors. The neighbors have to sleep. They should probably know how to control them as well. But they just won't shut up. Healing from that ordeal took a lot. Tons of self-reflection and, crucially, time. I've had to dive into self-improvement. A bit cliche, I know, but it's seriously needed during times of emotional turmoil. Gradually, new experiences rolled around, and ever so slightly, with the help of the sad kids and a ton of other friends, I began to heal.
It's understandable that it took you a while to recover from that because it's hard to put your trust into someone. They tell you something, you obviously eat the shit that they tell you, and then all just crumbles down because they did something else.
All you need to do is focus on yourself. Like really focus on yourself. Because something I've noticed is like you start becoming the other person. You can see that a lot of other people do, like they talk the same, they start doing the same mannerism and stuff.
Mhm.
You have to be yourself. Because honestly, like there's no one you can rely on right now. Like I mean, your friends of course, but if you don't let yourself take that first step, no one is going to make you. No amount of YouTube videos or drawing or writing your feelings down will help you unless you want to do that thing.
Don't force it though. Just try to heal on your own pace, but at the same time, don't fall behind too much. Don't wallow in self pity, is what happened. I wallowed in self pity too much.
How do you know if your feelings are genuine? Because like that seems to be the main theme from like situationships to the heartbreak, what we've been talking about, what the episode's theme was that do you know if what this person, if the other person you're laying your heart out is it genuine? Are you feeling it?
At one point, that was also an issue for me, even for Jane, because I remember we were both not sure. The one thing that made it work is because we communicate. Does how you feel connect with what you do? Are you actually being true to yourself? Because you can't really tell when the other person is genuine. So you have to take yourself into account first. Are you being genuine first? You know? And if you are, that's good. So now it comes to, are they genuine? So from then on, you ask them. Because you can't keep guessing. That was my mistake. I kept guessing.
You have to be sure of who you are. Like I cannot put more emphasis on that because sometimes it's very complicated. You can't say like, oh, you immediately like this person upon seeing them for once in your whole life. You need to know not just what you like, not just your ideal type, not just those. I mean, of course, you need to know that, but not just those. You also have to know what kind of person you are. Because honestly, it's very, very rare that you get into a first relationship and then marry them for the rest of your life. Because you literally don't know anything. It's a 1 in a million chance, probably. There was one point where someone told me that they liked me. I said, okay, I like you too. I did not. I just felt bad. It's better that you break someone's heart than go into a relationship with them and then break their heart for even longer.
I genuinely do not wish for anyone to be put in the same situation that I went through. But it's unfortunately inevitable that we experience something similar to this, even if it's not related to romance. The important thing is learning to let go when you're ready and when the time feels right. And to be honest, making this episode and reflecting on everything that had happened to me during that period is my final step of letting go. It's a form of self-reflection that is at its deepest. And although I've long recovered from and have gotten over that ordeal, I just want to throw one last punch in the air and use my story as a way for others who are in the dark and use it as a spark to help them light their path and light their way out. So this Valentine's Day, whether you've confessed to someone, proclaimed your feelings, or you took them out, ask yourself if what you're feeling is genuine or a fling, and be honest with them, because no one deserves to have their feelings played around with. If you want to subscribe, click here. And if you want to watch another video, click here. Because if you do that, this video stops and I can finally stop hearing these dogs. Please, just do something and click any of these. I would be fine with anything. I'm gonna lose my mind.